So I'll run you through some of the adjustments for your shock, your fork basically. Sometimes the shops, you buy a new bike, you leave the shop, maybe they put some air in the shock, but they don't really run you through everything else, or it's just real quick. But a lot of these adjustments can make or break a good ride. Can change it from night to day. A lot of guys don't realize that. But on something like this is just a hardtail, so we don't have a lot of travel here. Usually we got about 4 inches of travel, maybe 120, or if we're going to millimeters, it'd be 100 mil. But this side we got air pressure, so you need yourself a shock pump. It's a very small pump, very specific for shocks. You can use it for a rear shock if you do have it too. On the other side, this is pretty typical for all shocks, no matter manufacturer. This guy over here, we got compression. So I've got the lock symbol, so we're going clockwise. This will be over on this section. It stiffens up the fork. It's not going to completely lock it out. So if you do take a hit when it's in the lock position, it will give a little bit, kind of bypass. You're not going to really hurt anything unless you're riding like that all the time and just hitting big stuff. And then you're opening it, you're going counterclockwise. This is facing towards the front typically. This is very bare bones. This is the RockShox Reba, I believe. Yeah, it says somewhere. They do a good job of hiding all the logos. But so typically I'm riding with this open. Some might have some adjustability. If you do 1 or 2 clicks, it'll stiffen up little by little until it's completely closed off, making it really stiff. So open, usually I'm traveling on maybe descending, going down some single track, something like this. But if you're gonna be doing some climbing or sprinting out of the saddle, then I'm locking this, I'm turning this to the clockwise position. I'm not turning it right now because the bike is barely balancing by a water bottle. So, and then you look down at the bottom over here, you might see a red knob, very typical of being the Rebound in color. Blue compression, pretty common. Some manufacturers might change that color. You might get cute and turn it yellow or something. But RockShox does a nice job of showing you a turtle and the hair. So again, if we go clockwise, I know we're upside down. If we go clockwise, we're gonna tighten it up. It's like, think of it as a faucet at your sink. If you're tightening up, you're closing something off, you're gonna make it harder for the fluid to pass through. So on Rebound, after you compress, this compresses down, and then it needs to decompress and come back up. We wanna make sure it's not decompressing or opening up really quick. So if it's too quick, it's almost like a pogo stick and it's gonna maybe fling you off the bike to be dramatic. So if we go clockwise, let me see, we go counterclockwise, we're opening it up, we're allowing more fluid to flow through. So when this compresses, it's gonna spring open a little quicker, or we can slow it down going clockwise to the turtle. So somewhere in the middle, maybe 1 or 2 clicks tight, but this can be definitely a feel thing. You should be out on your trail, you should play with this while you're on the trail, go through different runs, or go hit the same section and go from one end to the other just to see some contrast. But those are the 3 main things right there. Is air pressure is for you, for your rider weight. So maybe you're carrying a water pack, you know, and stuff like that. Don't go too heavy on these packs. You know, just carry enough water for yourself for that ride, and that'll take some time to figure that out. And then all your clothes, your shoes, and stuff like that. But once you get your rider weight, you can do a Sag test, or sometimes there's a chart on these. I believe RockShox gives you a chart. This one's hidden over here, so gets you in the ballpark. And then they give you a little reading over here. So here we got a reading of 80 mil and then 100 mil. The 80 mil, so this fork here, I can shrink it down so it only gets 80 mil of travel, which is going to be very minimal. This is going to be something more for racing, cross-country racing. Because you figure if you're cross-country racing, think of a hardtail as your road bike, but for the dirt. So we're trying to make everything super rigid. We don't want a lot of flex. We don't want another shock back here taking a lot of your power. We want that power to go to the pedals, all the way back to that wheel, boom, down to the ground. So, I don't know, there's a lot of information. So, well, basically running 100. A lot of the cross-country bikes, they may even have 120. Trails are changing, they're getting a little more aggressive, and which means if you have more travel, you're going to be able to take kind of bigger bumps, more technical stuff. It's going to take up that absorption, be a little more forgiving, especially if you make a mistake. So, but you can always fine tune up here. You can kind of close this off a bit, stiffen this area up, maybe add a little more air pressure, Different ways to combat maybe a shock moving too much. Even fill the air tank. So on this side we're just running air, just an air chamber. This side over here you're running valving systems, and there's oil in there to help you with that. So you're closing off the valving, allowing less oil to flow, slowing down your compression or slowing down your rebound, things like that. And that's the same if you had a rear shock too. All that stuff kind of works the same way. But for some place like out here at Calero, where there's pretty flat, a little hilly, for the most part everything's pretty hard packed, a little bit of embedded rocks and roots. Right now I'm on part of a cow path right now, and then we got some fire road stuff. Real fun single track. Get some climbing out here, so don't need a lot of travel out here. You can get away with a hardtail. Like I said, a lot of these hardtails, they're like this Epic here, like this design. It's a 2020 or 2021. Changing the head angles, making them a little more aggressive. They're coming outward this way. The front wheel's getting further in front of the head tube. Chain stays are getting shorter over here. From this point to this point, they're getting much shorter, so it makes the bike a little more quicker, more snappy, better handling. Maybe the bottom brackets are getting a little lower or higher. You know, if they're getting a little lower, then it lowers the center of gravity, so they're going to descend a little more in control, a little faster. But so far I'm liking this bike. But off the topic of shocks, I think that'll do it.